What up, though, Pistons family? It's your boy Troy. This is Detroit Fan TV, back with another video. And what I want to talk about today, guys, is the Pistons head coaching search. And why haven't we hired a coach yet? That's the big question. You know, the Rockets, they got their guy, Ime Udoka. They found their guy, they were committed to him, and he was their guy, so they hired him. Now, the Pistons, we haven't hired anyone yet. And you think we would have maybe, you know, because the Rockets did. The coaches are going. And I think the reason for that is we actually want Chris Quinn, the assistant on the Miami Heat. He's been an assistant for almost 8 years now. This will be his 8th season with the Miami Heat. But the big thing about Chris Quinn is he's only 39 years old. So, you know, there's been a lot of coaches on the market. If we wanted him, I think we would have already hired him. Monty Williams, Kevin Ollie, Charles Lee, Nick Nurse is out there. If we had our eyes set on a guy, I think something already would have been in motion, just kind of like how the Rockets were in love with Udoka. They got him instantly. But the Pistons haven't done that. We're waiting it out, trying to find the right person, and I think that's because we're waiting for the finals to be done so we can start talking to Chris Quinn. That's the Miami Heat assistant coach. He played 4 years in the NBA, 3 years overseas. He was a point guard, so he played 7 years professionally total. And then as soon as his career wrapped up, he began as a coach for Northwestern. After that, the following year, he became a coach with the team that drafted him, the Miami Heat. He became an assistant coach with the Miami Heat back in 2014, so 8 years ago now. And he's been with the Heat since then. He's been his assistant coach, just working his way up and learning under a legendary coach now in Erik Spoelstra. Spoelstra's an absolute legend, and Chris Quinn has been his right-hand man, just the guy right under him. Now, in 2022, March of 2022, when Spoelstra had to miss a game, Chris Quinn was the one who filled in for him. He was the head coach, the fill-in head coach for the Miami Heat. So that just shows you right there how the Miami Heat view Chris Quinn. Now, when Chris Quinn was interviewed after the game, he said, "I'm not rewriting the book by any means. We have a system and culture in place." So he's basically just learned the system, learned the culture, the winning culture. That's the most important thing, guys. He's learned a winning culture. Now, also, in April, Spoelstra missed another game in the health and safety protocols, and Chris Quinn filled in again as the head coach, and he actually got his first win. That was against the Toronto Raptors. So he has a win as a head coach, and he has experience as a head coach. Again, I think that says a lot, that he's the guy who's filling in for the Miami Heat. You know, when Spoelstra goes down, that means they really view him in a very high view. You know, he's getting a lot of experience just as an assistant and filling in as a head coach here and there. So Chris Quinn has the experience, and one thing I'd say my favorite thing about Chris Quinn is he's 39 years old. And in today's age of TikTok, social media, all that, these players, it's a lot harder for them to relate with a guy like Dwayne Casey or these older coaches. You know, Dwayne Casey was 66. And that's not a bad thing. He's got a lot of wisdom and values that he can spread. But I think a guy like Chris Quinn, who's only 39, he's a lot younger. He just got out of the league almost 10 years ago. So he has a lot of relatability for our players. He can connect with our players on a better level because we have a very young team. So a guy who's 39, he's going to understand what these players are going through and relate a lot more, especially because he was a former player. So that's huge. He's young and he was a former player. So those are two of the reasons why I really think he's a very good option. And at this point, I think he's the best option for the Pistons just because of his age. Like, if he's a really good coach and he's only 39 now, we could go on a run with him for the next 20, even 30 years almost, you know, of him just being successful in a very good run. And that's one of the pros of hiring a head coach who's only 39 years old is if he is a really good coach, you're going to have him there for a while. You're going to be able to build up a culture and a system that's going to be in place for a very long time, like the Spurs, like the Heat have. You know, you're going to be able to implement something for a long-term period. With guys, you know, that are 50, 55, yeah, 10 years, they might start getting old, even if they are really good coaches. A guy I think about is like Larry Brown with the Pistons. He was a really good coach, but he was a little older, so we really couldn't keep him forever. So the final reason I think that he really has a leg up on these other coaches and options that the Pistons may look at, like Kevin Ollie, Charles Lee, things like that, is he learned under Eric Spoelstra. And Eric Spoelstra is one of the great coaches of the sport. He learned under Pat Riley, who was a complete legend of the NBA, had massive success. And he basically just has the same system Spoelstra does. He's a very good coach, and he has built a winning culture with the Miami Heat. You can see what they're doing right now. They're the 8th seed, but they've just been flying through the playoffs with just basically Jimmy Butler as your headpiece, while all these other teams have massive superstars and stacked teams. Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, I wouldn't say that's the most stacked team out there, but somehow they're just playing way better, playing with tenacity, and just outplaying, getting out-coached completely because of Eric Spoelstra. I would credit a lot of that to Eric Spoelstra. He's a coach who has 2 championships under his belt, and out of the 15 seasons he's been with the Miami Heat, they only missed the playoffs 3 years. So what that is, that's a system, that's a culture, and I think Chris Quinn will be able to bring that to the Pistons because that's been instilled in him as he was the right-hand man under a coach like Eric Spoelstra. Eric Spoelstra took over the Heat as the head coach when he was 37 years old. So I see a lot of similarities with Chris Quinn being only 39 and Spoelstra being 37. Spoelstra's been there the last 15 years, like I said, and they've just been winning every year. So I think Chris Quinn can come to Detroit, instill the culture, start winning with this great core that we have, and this could be a really good run for the Pistons. I think Chris Quinn is the perfect fit for the Pistons. He has all the tools, and I don't see many people talking about Quinn. He's been kind of under the radar. A lot of people talking about Charles Lee. I think with Charles Lee, he might just get picked up by the Bucks after they fired Mike Budenholzer. And Ali and some of the other guys, they're good coaches. Monty Williams, he's a little bit older. Nick Nurse, I don't really know about him. I don't know if I want another Raptors coach after we just dealt with Dwayne Casey. So I really think Chris Quinn is going to be the best option for the Pistons. I think the Pistons are just waiting out right now for the Miami Heat to finish their season. Obviously, they're beating up on the Celtics right now, and they're probably going to be in the NBA Finals. So I think once the season concludes and the Heat are done with everything, we're going to start interviewing Chris Quinn a lot more. I think we interviewed him about a month ago. I don't think we can make any serious moves while he's still coaching for the Miami Heat. So I think Troy Weaver's just holding off, waiting for the Heat to finish their season, and he's going to pounce. He's going to go after Quinn aggressively. I think Quinn is going to be the next great Detroit Pistons head coach. What do you guys think, though? Do you guys think Chris Quinn is a good option for the Pistons? And do you think Troy Weaver has his sights set on Chris Quinn? Because in my opinion, every single day that passes that we're not hiring a coach, it just becomes more clear and clear that we want to hire Chris Quinn. We're waiting it out. I think if we wanted a guy that was free right now, we probably would have already picked him up. So that's why I think Chris Quinn is who we're going for. Let me know if you guys agree, if you want Chris Quinn, if you don't want Chris Quinn. Anyways, that's going to do it for the video today, guys. I'm Troy. This is Detroit Fan TV. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. We're on the road to 1K subscribers. I appreciate it all, guys. I'm out. Peace.